Now, the pandemic has forced every industry to get creative. Take the restaurant industry. Outdoor dining on warm summer nights, totally different than cold, windy fall and soon winter weather. Restaurants are adapting. They've got tents, they've got bubbles and outdoor greenhouses. But in some cases, it's gotten to the point where these outdoor sections are more indoor than out. To talk about all of this, let's bring in Sarah Holder. She's a Bloomberg City Lab reporter. Sarah covers urban politics in the San Francisco area and joins us now. Sarah, a lot of these bubbles or tents are enclosed spaces that just happen to be outside. What kind of guidelines are in place to determine what qualifies as outdoor dining?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like right now, as is the case with a lot of coronavirus restrictions, it really varies by locality, county, and state. New York City actually has some of the most stringent requirements for these outdoor structures. So if more than 50% of the structure is enclosed, so 3 walls instead of just 2, they're treated as indoor structures, and they can only be filled to 25% capacity. I think if you look at Twitter, if you walk down the street in New York City, you're probably going to see restaurants sort of evading that restriction. So it's unclear how closely those are enforced. But it seems like in a lot of places, restaurants are sort of on their own to figure out the line between, ventilation, airflow, and warmth and comfort.
Yeah, and of course, these restaurants have spent a lot of time, a lot of attention, a lot of money on making these outdoor dining areas accessible and cozy for potential diners. Obviously, this is not cheap. Do we know how much they're spending on these structures?
So my colleague Kristen Capps talked to some folks who'd spent, $1,500 to $5,000 on these enclosures. I spoke to Weatherport Shelter Systems, which, creates base camps on Mount Everest, wedding tents, and now is sort of pivoting more robustly to this restaurant space. And they say that there's supposed to be investments for 20 to 30 years. These things are not cheap, and especially if you add in ventilation systems, which really, create a much safer environment, those can run even more costly. And in a lot of places like New York or even LA, which banned outdoor dining for the next 3 weeks, investing a lot in an outdoor dining structure could prove, all for naught. If cases keep surging, folks are not wearing masks at these setups, and cities have to take measures to roll back these abilities.
Okay, the main question here is, though, are these physical structures safe? How do you create airflow and ventilation in enclosed or partially enclosed spaces like this?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason that people want to be doing indoor dining, not outdoor dining, outdoor dining, not indoor dining, is because there is the potential for more airflow. There's the potential for more sunlight, which is good for decreasing transmission of the virus. But if people are sitting close together, taking their masks off to eat and drink, there have been cases linked to indoor dining structures and close capacity seating. So the way to make an outdoor dining setup really safe is to space people 6 feet apart or more, to make sure there's a way for the air to go in and the air to go out. So that's putting vents in the bottom of the structure and then on the roof, or it's just making sure that no more than 50% of that tent is really enclosed. I mean, if you see an igloo, there's no way to get air in and out of something that's so enclosed. That's basically like you're sitting in a room. If you sit in something like that with your bubble, with your pod, with your household, that might not be much different than eating in your living room, as long as you're wearing a mask when the waiter is inside. But a good rule of thumb is there a way for airflow to circulate, and are people distanced, and are people wearing masks when they're not eating and drinking?
Yeah, all that comes at a cost. It's probably not going to be in a cozy igloo. Sarah Holder, thank you so much for that fascinating look into what we're going to all be dealing with in the next couple of months. Certainly, we're dealing with it right now already.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.